Hey guys, this is Pontiac Mike, and this is a follow-up video to my YouTube video on how to change out your BCM or body control module. After that body control module was replaced, I took it to the dealership to have it programmed, and they called me, said they got it programmed. However, they did not have any communication with the PCM, which is your powertrain control module. And so I brought the Aztek home and started digging. I inspected the wiring harness. I could not find anything wrong with any of the wiring harness. Really dug into things, took things apart on the inside and underneath the hood, and so I ordered a PCM. Anyways, I replaced the PCM, and that didn't help. So before I put the Aztek back together again, as you can see, I've got lots of parts out, mostly interior trim parts. So I want to show you what I found. Basically, the problem ended up being the ignition switch. And I guess there is a service bulletin by GM on these, high resistance in the ignition switch. And I'm going to show you how I found the problem, and hopefully I can save somebody a lot of headache, because I've got a lot of hours of trying to diagnose the problem. The symptom that I was having, which I discovered quite accidentally, is when I pushed in the thumb knob on the shifter handle, I regained communication with the PCM, which makes absolutely no sense. So my thought was I must have some chafed wires and getting voltage on a wire that shouldn't have, and it's causing the PCM to crash. So after using my voltmeter, what I found is at the base of the shifter is the interlock, and it's going to be hard to see, but it's basically back behind here. I unplugged that, and my PCM stopped crashing. Although I did still have some other issues. I figured, okay, well, I'm making some gains. So when I checked the voltage on the purple wire going down to that plug, I found that I had about 9.5 volts, which is really unusual. So I tracked that wire up to this plug. We're now underneath the steering column. So there's two purple wires here. The one purple wire goes over to that base of the shifter, and it showed 9.5 volts. The other wire, I think, is a class 2 wire, the other purple wire, and it shows less than half a volt. Don't be concerned about that. When you check these, you just take your multimeter and back probe into the plug to see your voltage. And then what I did is I started back probing some of the these wires in this main plug that's underneath the harness. There's a green wire that goes up to the ignition switch, and when I probed that wire again, I got that 9.5 volts. So I disassembled the steering column so I could get to the ignition switch, and I replaced that ignition switch. And there's YouTube videos on how to replace those switches, and how to get into the steering column of typical GM vehicles. So there's no point of me duplicating a video like that. But anyways, I just wanted to show you where you could go if you're having problems with the vehicle, and you kind of have ruled out the body control module and the PCM. Go ahead and access this plug, this main wiring harness underneath the steering column, and again, check the two purple wires. One's going to be less than half a volt. The other one should be 12 volts. So if you aren't getting 12 volts on one of those purple wires, the suspect would be the ignition switch. Now, I did take care of another problem that is common on these Azteks, and it's called the C305 plug. And that, I mentioned it in the other video, but I didn't show it. This is the plug behind the driver's seat. It goes through the floor, and there is a connection, actually 3 connections underneath the vehicle that are susceptible to water infiltration. And so I initially cleaned those up and put some dielectric grease in there, but as I was doing more research on the internet, there were several suggestions to eliminate that plug entirely. And so I decided to do that, and it's kind of time consuming, but the proper way to do that is to cut the connectors off and take each individual wire, slide some shrink wrap on the wire, then solder the wire, and then heat that shrink wrap around the soldered connection, and therefore you completely eliminate that plug. That way it won't be a problem. You won't have to worry about it corroding. And the reason that even after you clean it up it could be a problem, there's the potential for those terminals to spread and therefore not make a good connection after you've got them cleaned up. So I just, as I was diagnosing things, I just wanted to make sure that that I didn't have anything else that could be taken care of that I was overlooking. So I just went ahead and took care of that too. So anyways, so in summary, if your Aztek is giving you electrical issues, the trouble spots are the body control module, the ignition switch, the PCM can be a potential problem. Also, I've heard that wires can chafe behind the ABS bracket, and I did look at that on mine, and I could see how that could be a problem. However, it wasn't on this vehicle. And just to show you, this is just the cheap multimeter that was able to help me track down the issue. So anyways, thanks for watching. Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to mention, is the PCM that I purchased. I purchased it from Flashmasters on eBay, and these guys are phenomenal. Incredible customer service. I had this thing in 3 days. It flashed to my VIN number, and then when I called them and was having difficulties, obviously not with their PCM but other issues, they offered some suggestions and then said that if I found that I didn't need the PCM within 30 days, that they would accept the return and give me a full refund. And that's just, in my opinion, just excellent customer service, because I ordered it, and you know, they really shouldn't be obligated to do a return if there's nothing wrong with their product. But anyways, they've got 100% feedback on eBay, and I can see why. And so I recommend Flashmasters if you're looking for a used reflash PCM. It's a very cost-effective alternative, especially when you're troubleshooting and you're not sure and you don't want to spend the money for a new computer, which are pretty expensive and oftentimes come unflashed, and then you have to take them to the dealer, which is another added expense. So anyways, that concludes this video. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I won't have to do any more videos on Azteks. Take care now, and keep your Aztek on the road.